We are discussing the borrower side, right? So we often talk about being a private lender and how to vet deals, how to vet potential borrowers, how to run your business as a private lender. But what I realized is I haven't really given a lot of information for borrowers, like how, as a borrower, do you approach the lender in a way that makes you an attractive client? And what are some steps you can take to make sure that the lender feels comfortable and that they have all the information that they need and to basically guarantee that they'll be willing to lend to you. So, 4 things, okay? And this is not an exhaustive list, but just as someone who lends, these are some things that I look for in a good borrower client. First of all, organization. When the borrower is organized and when I request something, they have it ready and they're not scrambling to send me documents or they're sending me incorrect documents, that is a good sign to me. When they are clearly organized, I've had people download zip folders that just are filled with documents that are clearly labeled, and I love that. It's my favorite. It makes me feel like, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They understand how to run a business, not just are an expert in their craft, which is important. And I feel like they're on top of it, and that may not be true, but that's what it makes me feel. And so another piece of this organization is just when the borrower has a clear process as well for how they work with lenders. And what that can look like is, when you talk to the borrower, they may say, hey, typically when I work with my lenders, I use this system and I provide updates on this cadence and I provide pictures or I provide videos and I communicate this often. These are the types of documents I typically provide. Like those kinds of systems and processes also make me feel comfortable as a private lender. Another thing is, so first is getting organized, and 2 is making sure your coins are together. Now, one of the biggest red flags in a borrower is they don't have good cash flow. Like they're strapped for cash themselves. Now, I understand that, you may need a loan because you're trying to make more money or you're trying to facilitate a transaction. But if there's not enough cash flow, what indications do I have that you can pay that loan back, And some borrowers really have a hard time showing this. So some documents that I might want to see are a cash flow statement. I might want to see a balance sheet. I may want to see a bank account statement, It really just depends. And sometimes I'll request certain documents initially, and then those documents may raise questions and I may request more documents. But being clear about how much coin you have, where it's coming from, how consistent it is, and even having projected financials is extremely helpful, because the worst case scenario for a lender is when the borrower can't pay them back. Literally the worst case scenario. And so when you have proof that you have income coming in, whether it's from your job, maybe you're like fixing and flipping on the side and you also have a job, that's helpful to know. I want to know that even if your project fails, you'll be able to pay me back, period. Okay. Third, do a great job of demonstrating and communicating your knowledge and expertise. Okay. Now, this is hard for some borrowers because they're actually new to the field. So I've had borrowers who, maybe it was their first or second flip and they're requesting funds. Now, the thing with lending is the less experience you have, the higher the risk for the lender, right? Now, if you told me you're doing your second flip and then I look at the numbers from your first one and they're not even great, that doesn't make me feel good, right? It makes me feel like you don't know what you're doing, and I don't necessarily think I want to lend to you. The risk is too high. And that is why a lot of times new fix and flippers or investors will have to go to a hard money lender and get a loan that way as opposed to a private lender. Now, you have private lenders that will still do it, but I'm just saying from my perspective as a private lender, like I don't necessarily feel comfortable lending to someone when it's clear that they have very limited experience in what they're doing. But if you do have the requisite experience, just have a very clear way of communicating that. One way is to keep a spreadsheet of all your deals and the numbers. That's the most important thing. Now, of course, if you are in real estate, for instance, and you are a fix and flipper, you can have the address on there, the owners or owner entities. That's important information, because when I'm looking up the property, I'm looking to make sure that the owners match. I mean, because for all I know, you could just be putting any property on there, right? So I want to make sure that the owner entity is your entity and that's who is in charge. I want to see the purchase price. I want to see, who gave you the money the first time. What was the source of the funds? I want to see what the budget was for the rehab, and I want to see what the sale price was. I want to know the profit margin. Like, these are important details in that space. Now, if you are doing, let's say you're having a vending machine business and you want me to finance your machine for you, and you have a route of other machines, I want to see that information. How are these machines doing in these other locations? That gives me an idea of whether you know what you're talking about and whether you know what you're doing, and if my money is safe with you. I want to see insurance policies. I want to see any documentation, expertise, or knowledge that you have that will make me feel a little better that my money is safe, is what I want to see. Okay. And finally, one of the best things you can do is provide referrals. So if you have used private lending before for your projects or your business, I would love to have a list of referrals of people I can call that have done loans with you, so I can ask them about their experience. I can ask them if you paid on time, and if you didn't, how and when that was communicated, how it was resolved, how many loans they've done with you, tons of questions. And so if you can provide a list of referrals, amazing. Now, if you've never done a private loan, of course you can't provide referrals, but maybe you've done a hard money loan. Maybe you can provide a referral there. Now, I don't know that they'll actually talk to me if I call. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes we have to call together, which is fine. But just knowing that you have that prepared is amazing. And then just a pro tip, as you move from transaction to transaction with a private lender and you had a great experience, start building your own list of referrals, because, the bigger your transactions get, the more advanced you get, the more diverse your lenders get, they may start to ask for different things. So if you come across me, I might be like, look, let me get some referrals, and maybe you've never been asked that before, but everyone's different. So just to recap, now, how to be a good borrower. We've talked a lot about how to be a good lender, but if you want to present yourself in the best possible position as a borrower, the things you should think about and do are: 1, be very organized with your documentation, organized with your projects. There's easy systems for this that are free, talking Google Drive, Dropbox, whatever you got to do. Second, you want to make sure that you have your money in order and documented, so your books should be clean, your reporting should be accurate and clean and clear. You should know your numbers, have your sources of income be very clear. That makes the lender feel comfortable. And third, you want to make sure you demonstrate your knowledge and expertise in the area where you're asking for a loan. So if you don't have that, of course, it's going to make it very difficult, but maybe you can offer up other methods or strategies that you're going to put in place to help make sure that the lender's money is protected. And lastly, you're going to start building a list of referrals and have those ready on hand when a lender asks for them. And those should help you be really set up to be a good borrower candidate, and lenders will be flocking to you. Well, I don't know if they'll be flocking to you, but I do know that they'll feel better about lending to you.